Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Daily Drive presented by Ford Driving Skills for Life. I'm your host, Mike Speck. Do you enjoy riding bicycles? I know I do. I'm an avid cyclist out here on the West Coast, but I got to tell you something. You got to make sure that if you're a cyclist, you're following the rules. That also goes for people that drive around cyclists. If you're a newly permitted or licensed teenager, you might not always know what's going through the mind of a cyclist while they're riding. And so our guest today, Alison Dewey, she is the Director of Education for the League of American Bicyclists. And she's going to talk to us today about some of those rules and a little bit about the mindset. What is a cyclist thinking about, not just on a regular ride, but even now during times of COVID? That's Alison Dewey up next on the Daily Drive. Alison, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great. Before we got on the broadcast, I really enjoyed our conversation about the Tour de France and how we're both kind of watching how that went. Absolutely amazing what those riders are doing. It blows my mind. But, this program's all about safety. And so we're going to touch on some of the safety protocol that cyclists need to pay attention to, but again, also what drivers need to pay attention to as cyclists. But your organization, I know, is heavily involved in the safety aspect. So tell us a little bit about the League of American Bicyclists.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for having me on. This is a really fun part of the job I get to do. Thanks to Ford and thanks for the Daily Drive. I really appreciate you thinking of the League of American Bicyclists as a source for bike safety information. The League of American Bicyclists is a not-for-profit 501(c) advocacy organization. We work to make bicycling safer, more convenient, and more enjoyable for everyone. Our mission is to create a bicycle-friendly America for everyone. And we do this primarily through federal policy. We are located in Washington, D.C., a stone's throw away from the nation's from the Hill, where Congress meets. And we work with our partners in Congress to craft better legislation, create more laws that encourage and promote safe cycling. We also do our work and create a more bicycle-friendly America through our Bicycle Friendly America program. It's an encouragement program that gives businesses, universities, communities, and states kind of a roadmap as to how to be more bicycle friendly. And then we also create better bicycling through our bike education program, and that's called Smart Cycling. We have certified over 6,500 league cycling instructors, LCIs we call them. And this group of instructors are certified by the League of American Bicyclists to teach our bike education curriculum.
That is awesome and comprehensive. Being there in DC, I'm sure you are right there and are able to affect change. But let's kind of look at what it is that you're teaching cyclists. You've kind of touched on the education part. What kind of rules are we teaching cyclists, especially now, since there's so many more out on the roads and the trails?
That's a great question. At the League, we think that education for all road users is key to safer roads for everyone. And it's good to know that people on bikes just aren't around vehicles. They are vehicles. They are traffic. We're traffic too. So bicycles are vehicles of the road. We have the same rights and the same responsibilities on the road as motorized vehicles. However, we know they're not the same, right? People on bikes typically are referred to as vulnerable road users because we don't have that frame of steel around us. We don't have those, soft pillows if we crash to keep us from that steel. So we're in that category of vulnerable road users. We also typically travel at a slower speed than motorized vehicles. So what the league teaches is, as any slow moving vehicle, a person on a bike should be riding to the farthest to the right of the road as is safe. Now, as is safe is a key term because where a person might feel safe might be in the center of the road, which is kind of hard for people to grasp. But just picture it, if you're in a urban area, say a downtown area where there's a steady flow of traffic, of cars, it's lower speed limits. Typically you're seeing 20, 25 miles an hour in downtown areas. There's a lot of stop signs, a lot of speed intersections, a lot of stoplights. A person on a bike might be traveling at the same speed as motorized vehicles. So in order to discourage cars from trying to pass them in an unsafe way, they might be riding in the middle of the road. The other thing I'm thinking about when I'm on a bike and I'm downtown and there's a row of parked cars to the right of me, I'm thinking, man, I will get smashed if someone opens their car door right now. And so that's why the league, we instruct people when riding to be at least 4 or 5 feet from those parked cars, so that if someone does open their door, they're not going to be hit by that car door. We're also teaching motorists to, hey, remember to look behind you before you open your car door in case there is somebody riding a bike. We also teach that bicyclists need to follow the law and need to be predictable. Predictability is key. It means that a person on a bike is following the same rules of the road so that other road users, motorized or other bicyclists, can understand what their intentions are and that those other road users can respond accordingly.
Absolutely. And the topic that you brought up with the car door kind of blends into something that we teach on our Ford Driving Skills for Life hands-on programs. We have a module that we refer to as Share the Road. The idea there is to make sure that cyclists and motor vehiclists realize that they have a responsibility to share the space that's available with one another. The thing is, we try to touch not just on the physical part of it, the car door opening, but also on the other element that you touched, which is the mental part of it, looking to see if something's going to happen, thinking about that, which leads us into another area. I don't know, as kind of I said earlier, that motorists always realize what's going through a cyclist's mind. I'll give you an example. When I ride here in the LA area, I'm noticing that a lot of people in the bike lanes, when you come up on another cyclist or you come up on a pedestrian walking opposite in that bike lane, a lot of folks are moving out of the bike lane, myself included, trying to social distance a little bit. And I see that a lot on hills where we're all breathing really heavily. I'm noticing that kind I know I'm breathing really heavily, where everybody's kind of trying to spread out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing a change in cyclist behavior at all with what's going on? And do you think that motor vehiclists realize that this is happening?
Yeah, that's a really great question too. Well, one, if you are riding within, a close proximity of other people, the CDC does recommend wearing a mask. So that's one layer of protection you have from the COVID virus. But it's such a new time for all of us. We've just been in this for 6 months. I know it seems like forever, but understanding why a person is operating in a different manner than they would pre-COVID it's an adjustment for everyone. And it's hard to know what motorists are aware of. It's hard to also know what a bicyclist is aware of. If they're thinking, I want to be 6 feet or 5 feet or, farther away from this person, get out of their slipstream so that, so that I don't get this, so I stay away from the virus. So it's a tricky question, but I will say this, that drivers and cyclists should always be aware of their surroundings, aware of the speed limits, and aware of other road users, no matter what is happening in our world. Driving a car and riding a bike also deserves a person's full attention. And when a person has their full attention on what is happening on the road around them, then we're all safer.
Alison, those are all the things that we touch on for sure. Those are critical components. It's that making the right choices and being aware. Let's go back to the rules just a little bit for cyclists. So for sure, motor vehiclists need to yield to cyclists. And then do cyclists need to yield to pedestrians? How does that work?
Yeah. So, what you said about motorists yielding to cyclists is not always true. We're following the same rules of the road. Oftentimes it is nice if I pull up to a stop sign and I see a car wave me on, so I'm not coming to a full stop. But oftentimes I really feel safer when that car proceeds just as if I was in a car, because I know that they were there first, that I'm going to stop, they're going to go, and it's my turn is next. So the yielding to cyclists doesn't really hold true. Certainly bicyclists yielding to pedestrians, motorists yielding to pedestrians. We are all safer when everyone on the road is operating under the same set of laws and responsibilities. Now, I will say, your comment, Mike, about yielding to cyclists, it is a motorist's responsibility. If you notice that bicyclist, we've been talking in this frame of every bicyclist is an adult cyclist. Well, certainly there's a different case for the youth people, the kids on bikes that are riding in their neighborhoods, definitely yield to youth. I'll just say that. Yes, definitely yield to the kid on the bike riding in your neighborhood. Don't assume that they know the rules of the road, because they probably haven't been through driver's ed yet, and they're maybe they've taken a youth smart cycling class. But even so, you want to err on the side of caution that youth, they make mistakes more often than adults. So just, always be cautious when riding with, when seeing a youth in your neighborhood on a bike. But the league has been teaching people how to ride safely on roads and on paths and trails, for over 30 years now. And we teach about 500,000 youth and adults annually, our LCI, our league cycling instructors combined. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that we added it's a 90-minute training, and it's called Bicycle Friendly Driver. And this training was first designed for businesses, for our Bicycle Friendly Business program, where businesses specifically with vehicle fleets. We thought, businesses might want to improve their safety for their vehicle fleets by taking a class, a training that helps them understand why bicyclists ride the roads the way they do. And it's been a great success. It's been great also to see that individual drivers want this as well. And so our league cycling instructors are offering this online, the Bicycle Friendly Driver training. They're also providing it when it's safe in person at, a local library or community center, or and at businesses. But it's it's a great resource. It's a short class. It's also a way to open a conversation between people that typically ride bikes, and then motorists that maybe haven't ever been on a bike or haven't shared the road with a car being on a bike themselves. So it's kind of an invitation to create some dialogue between those user groups, because we don't want to segment our community of road users to the point where the bicyclists do this, the motorists do this. We just all want to get along and understand each other, operate under the same rules, and our roads will be safer because of that.
Yeah, hopefully we're all sharing the roads, as it were. So I went to the bike shop the other day just to pick up some stuff. I'm also looking at, potentially getting a gravel bike to add a little bit. Yeah, but I noticed there was nothing there in terms of stock. So I chatted with some of the folks there at the shop, and they said that they've basically been sold out for the past several months. So we know that there are folks buying bikes. We know that most likely, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but most likely there are a lot of new cyclists out there on the roads. You got to think that these folks are looking for safe places to ride. What other resources are there available, let's say for a cyclist, to find out where bike lanes are or where bike paths are? Do you have any suggestions on that?
Well, we have a great resource on our website. It's bikeleague.org. And then you can go on /connect, or drop down all the way to the bottom of the left-hand navigation bar, and it says connect. And you can type in your zip code or your city and state, and that will populate a list of resources for you. We have advocacy groups on there, bike shops, league cycling instructors, classes that are being offered, bike clubs you can get involved with, bicycle-friendly businesses and universities. So it's a great resource for any person that's new to bicycling or just wants to find out more about resources in their area.
Fantastic, Alison. Thanks so much for your time. I learned a little bit there myself. Is there anything else that you want to add at all?
I think, for the new drivers, I have a charge for all the new drivers out there is just get on a bike and take a 2-mile ride. It will make you a better driver. It will give you an appreciation for sharing the road with bicyclists. So just go do that, and we'll have a better driver in you if you do.
Terrific advice, Alison. Thanks again so much for taking some time out of your day. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
Bye.
Terrific interview with Alison Dewey, again, Director of Education of the League of American Bicyclists. If you want more information, again, you can go to their website and get some of that information, bikeleague.org. And again, we have some information as well, kind of that mindset type information for sharing the road. It's part of our Safe, Smart Mobility program with the Ford Driving Skills for Life program. And specifically, I'm talking about the Share the Road module that you have. You can also find it on our website at drivingskillsforlife.com. Remember that the Daily Drive is part of the Driving Skills for Life greater umbrella of driver education, which is all made available through backing of the Ford Motor Company Fund. This is Mike Speck signing off. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you back here the next time.